Hello, everybody. Hope you're well on this Friday afternoon and that you don't have Kevin De Bruyne in your FPL teams. My name is James, and for the benefit of those listening on the audio, you are listening to my regular Friday afternoon YouTube live stream where I invite questions from the YouTube community on anything football related, although I suspect 99% of them could well be on Kevin De Bruyne. Before I get into the questions, as per usual on this stream, guys, just take you through all the team news from all 20 clubs that we have so far today. So weekend, game week 5 kicks off with Everton against Liverpool. Carlo Ancelotti has allayed fears on Luca Dean. He is available for Everton this weekend. So too Yerry Mina, Seamus Coleman, Allen and Andre Gomez have trained. No word on James Rodriguez, but Ancelotti said that all the players have come back from international duty in good condition, so there should not be any concerns. Although you always have to have a little bit of slight concern with players who've done the far-flung travel in South America, Asia, that kind of thing. And James Rodriguez obviously falls in line to that. But it looks like, from what's been said today, no word on him, so would expect him to start. On Liverpool, Joel Matip, Thiago Alcantara and Sadio Mane have all trained this week, should be available. Alisson, Oxlade-Chamberlain are out. And Keita is obviously self-isolating following his COVID test. For Chelsea, Edward Mendy is confirmed out. Frank Lampard did not confirm if Willy Caballero or Kepa would start in goal. Ben Chilwell is fine, having obviously withdrawn from the England squad. Frank Lampard has confirmed that he's okay. Hakim Ziyech is likely to make a debut from the bench. Christian Pulisic is fit to play. Frank Lampard also confirmed that Thiago Silva, who's obviously travelled to South America, will be rested. He won't start for Chelsea tomorrow. For Southampton, Ralph Hasenhüttl was confirmed that Adam Armstrong has obviously contracted COVID, will not be available. And Moussa Djenepo is also out, means Theo Walcott is in line for his second Southampton debut. For Manchester City, a deep breath. The next games, I think he will be out, is the quote from Pep Guardiola. Now, what does next games mean? I don't know if that means 1 game, 2 games, 5 games, 6 games. I would read into that next games definitely means he won't play against Arsenal. He probably will not play in Champions League against Porto in midweek, but he may be back for West Ham next week. The risk of keeping him, of course, is you get to this time next week and it's the same situation and he's out again. Better news for City is that Sergio Aguero is available, has been taking part in full training. But it's worth saying, obviously, he has been out for 4 months. It's a lengthy layoff. Gabriel Jesus remains unavailable. So we can probably expect Aguero to be involved, but what kind of involvement that is, we don't know. For Arsenal, no word from Mikel Arteta on Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who did have a knock, but apparently has been training this week, so should be okay. Arteta's also hopeful that Kieran Tierney will be available to play. He was obviously in close contact with Armstrong from Southampton, who contracted COVID, but they're just waiting for the green light on whether he can play or not, essentially. And Thomas Partey could make a full debut following his big money move from Atletico Madrid. For Newcastle, Jamal Lascelles is in contention. Jamal Lewis is past fit. Concerns about Miguel Almiron, potentially because of fatigue. He will be checked. Martin Dubravka, Matt Ritchie and Dwight Gale remain long-term injuries. It's thought that Dubravka might have had a setback during this international period, and where the hope was that he would be back now, we could be looking at another 5 or 6 weeks or so. For Manchester United, Alex Telles is in contention for his debut at left-back, but will be assessed. He only joined in with the group yesterday. Anthony Martial is banned following his horrific punch on Eric Lamela in game week 4. Nudge, nudge. Edison Cavani is isolating. Harry Maguire will be assessed. I see a lot of talk online about, they're making it up. He hasn't really got a knock. Anybody who watched the England game the other night will know he literally was holding his bum cheek just before his second yellow card. So I suspect that is genuine and the truth. I think if he's fit, he'll play, by the way. Unknown who will play up front. My instinct on that will be that Marcus Rashford will go through the middle. I think he could be a really interesting differential captain this weekend, potentially. But have any of us got any trust in United at the moment? Talking to United, for Sheffield United, Ryan Brewster could make his debut as impressed. Part of that may well come down to the fact that Oliver Burke and David McGoldrick are both being assessed. If either of them are out, I think it's likely that Brewster will probably start. Fleck is also being assessed. It's also a little bit like with Kieran Tierney at Arsenal. It's unknown if John Egan will be allowed to play. The fact the game is Sunday might be a little bit more helpful. For Fulham, Mario Lemina and Ruben Loftus-Cheek could be involved. Tete and Harrison Reed are both out. Terrible news for Fulham is that new signing Joshim Anderson, who'd been bought from Lyon, is out for the foreseeable future with ankle ligament damage before he's even made his debut. I suspect with that sort of injury, he may not even play in 2020. Horrendous news for them. Palace and Brighton in the biggest derby of the season, 2 p.m. on Sunday. Crystal Palace have confirmed that Wayne Hennessy is out. It's being thought, and we don't know if this is confirmed, the EFL deadline closes at 5 o'clock. We believe that they're trying to sign Jack Butland from Stoke for as little as £500,000 when Stoke wouldn't take, I believe, 17 million for him this time last year. James McCarthy's also ruled out. Gary Cahill, James Tompkins, Patrick Van Arnholt have all trained. Jeffrey Schlupp is also in contention. For Brighton, sounds like good news on Tariq Lamptey and David Propper. They both trained. Aaron Connolly is a doubt following a potential knock with the Republic of Ireland. For Tottenham, come on, you Spurs. Jose Mourinho has confirmed that Harry Kane will start. Gareth Bale, quote, will probably play. Carlos Vinicius will be a sub. Eric Dyer will be assessed. He's got a tight hamstring. Giovanni Lo Celso is ruled out. Japhet Tanganga has also had a setback and is likely for a spell on the sidelines. For West Ham United, David Moyes' press conference today was very much centered around the potential signing of Benarama from Brentford. They've got just under 2 hours to get that confirmed. I suspect it probably will still go through, but he obviously wouldn't be in contention to play if he does sign. I think players have to be signed by 12 o'clock on the Friday to be in contention for the game week. Issa Diop is available. He obviously had COVID previously in his back. Artur Masuaku is expected to be okay. For Leicester, defensive problems. Kaglar Syunchu is out for a number of weeks. There's also doubt around Johnny Evans. Fofana could make his debut following his move from St. Etienne. Thomas Pratt and Jamie Vardy are also doubts for the weekend meeting with Aston Villa. Thomas Amartey is definitely out. For Villa, a number of players will be checked mainly on fatigue because of the amount of minutes they played over the international break. Amongst them, Conor Hourihane, John McGinn and Bertrand Traore. The one that's perhaps the biggest concern is Douglas Luiz, again, travelling back from South America. No news from West Bromwich Albion at the time of recording from Slaven Bilic, but obviously they signed Carlin Grant yesterday from Huddersfield, so he'll be in line to make a debut, and it's definitely an upgrade on what they've got there. So he would definitely be available to play for Monday afternoon's fixture with Burnley live on Box Office. For Burnley, because the game's on Monday, Sean Dyche is hopeful that Jay Rodriguez ankle injury could make it. Ben Mee, Lowton and Jack Cork are likely to still be out. For Leeds, winger Rafinha will be in the squad. Pablo Hernandez is fine and available. Llorente and Cooper both be assessed. There are no reported issues with Mateus Klick, which was a rumour that went round. Marcelo Bielsa said there's no issues with Klick. For Wolves, Markel should be fit. No injuries returning from international break. The majority of that squad has had a COVID test today. The results are unknown yet. A lot of this obviously centering on the fact that Cristiano Ronaldo has contracted COVID and the whole of the Wolves squad is basically Portuguese and a lot of them on international duty. So the danger here with Wolves is, and particularly the Portuguese players, guess what? Deadline's probably going to pass before you know if there's any issues. But Nuno Santo said nobody was showing any symptoms of anything as far as he's concerned. Everybody is okay. That's your team news for game week 5. I would strongly advise this particular week, 11 o'clock tonight, is probably when it will pass over if any of the written media press get anything late on in terms of team news, and it is worth waiting late, particularly off the back of international stuff where you've got, for example, Arsenal, Sheffield United, Brighton, their press conferences were yesterday. They would have trained yesterday, trained today. The written media could have something that's been embargoed now, late tonight. So wait, genuinely wait. Stay up late tonight, kids. Let's get into the questions. Edwin Guanzin says hello. Alex Peary says, afternoon, James, on a wild card. Would you go for Pulisic and Brewster or Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Souček? That's quite a tough one because I'd hold an interest in all 4 of those players. Souček is just great to sit in there at sort of 4.9. I bought him at 5. He's one in players accepted long ago. If I lose value on him, absolutely fine. Christian Pulisic is strongly in my thoughts as a Kevin De Bruyne replacement. It might well be where I go. I might take that punt. I just need to weigh up if I want to take that punt, bearing in mind for me, who bought Heung-min Son 10 days ago, it will cost me the -4. Is it worth it? And I might not want him next week. Brewster facilitates so many things at the moment. You can argue Souček does as well. If I was doing it now, truthfully, if I was wildcarding now, I think I would have Pulisic, Brewster and Souček, and I wouldn't have Calvert-Lewin. That's probably where I'd be with it at the moment. Lawrence says, best budget defenders. How do we feel about Palace with their good run? Palace do have a good run coming up. It's just having a look at their fixtures now. Brighton, Fulham, Wolves, Leeds, the next 4. And it's actually a sustained period. I know Ian Parrin on Fantasy Football Hub was discussing on their Sky podcast on Sunday that basically Palace have the best defensive run basically until 2021. So it's a long sustained period. I think Mamadou Sakha's 4.5, but is he safe in that team when Cahill and Tompkins are available? We don't know about their availability for tomorrow. Joel Ward could be the interesting one because Palace have re-signed Nathaniel Klein this week as backup. We believe Nathan Ferguson is not going to be fit for a suspended period. PVA, we know what he's capable of, and it's good fun owning him if it goes well for you. I think Joel Ward would probably be the way to go, and you'd have to use him as a rotation, rather than he's definitely one of the back 3, for example. Joel Ward's probably the way I'd go. Not of interest to me currently, though, Lauren, to be honest. Toby Alexander Hughes says, afternoon, James. Any thoughts on how long KDB will be out? Worth taking him out this week for a -4. Cheers. So for those later on in the chat, no more KDB questions. I don't know what I'm doing. 2 hours ago, I recorded a podcast for our patrons this morning. I've recorded that. I said, I'm captaining him this week. Not concerned about it. Now, the fact that Guardiola said out, that's obviously off the table. So now I need to decide what I want to do with him. So there's probably 3 players under strong consideration for myself in terms of what I'm doing. Jack Grealish, Christian Pulisic, as I've mentioned, Gareth Bale's the other. Alternatively, a 4th option is I can go to Mane or Salah, which is something I don't really want to do because my squad structure with the double Liverpool defensive, it's just not right for me at the moment. And I'm not overly keen on the fixture at Everton tomorrow either. Am I overly keen? The one that I'm keenest on in terms of this week is Pulisic against Southampton. I recommend strongly that any of you have a listen to Chelsea Southampton with Rotation FPL Gaffer that we released yesterday. We'll be going into detail on Chelsea Southampton. I actually think Tino Werner is an outstanding captain choice this game week. I've considered him as well. The idea of going down to one of the cheaper guys, and they're all cheaper rather than the Liverpool guys, I can then quite comfortably go to -8 and get Harry Kane in and stick the armband on him as well. I generally, right now, I'm not going to bullshit anybody. You'll all know I'll come in and say, look, that's what I'm doing, done. Right now, I don't know what I'm doing because we've recorded a podcast, I edited the podcast, released it for the patrons. Then the news broke and I went, fuck, I've got an hour to get all the team news listed for the start of this podcast for you. So in terms of my own structure, my own team, I haven't really sat down yet and decided what I want to do. Those options, I wouldn't rule out any of them at the moment. I think De Bruyne probably has to go, even for the -4. Definitely, if you don't intend to captain him in any of the next 3 fixtures, and I think those of you who've got Salah or Mane combined with that will captain one, let's say Salah, you'll captain him or a Tottenham asset in the next 2 game weeks. Then City and Liverpool play each other in game week 8. Then Tottenham looks like the obvious one. They play West Brom as well. So need to have a strong think about what I'm doing. I think the most likely is that I will sell him for the -4. I will definitely look at the idea of keeping him in terms of if it makes my squad structure better. The other thing for me is I'm up to 0.1 on him. It's not an immediate concern from a value perspective. He's a player that for me, those who listen to me regularly, you know that I'm going to want him back. And I also know if I take him back, I'm probably not going back to at least game week 9 when I will start coming off Spurs assets. So I need to consider that. I need to really think about it strong and hard. But I think for the majority of people, I would say yes, take the -4 and move it out. And if it enables you a better captain choice this game week, then almost no brainer. For a lot of you who are on no transfers made yet and have waited quite sensibly, then I would definitely be happy to take 2 transfers to move it on to -4. I think, had I not already bought Son, that would be the way I'd be going quite obviously, I think Kevin De Bruyne to Heung-min Son. He's had a million transfers in. I think anybody who hasn't done that yet is probably going to find that's the move that they make in the next 18 hours or so. FTLOL podcast. Hi, James. Who would the best pick be for the next few weeks out of Zaha, Grealish, and Trossard? I would say Grealish. Convinced enough on what I'd seen with Barkley playing Liverpool. To be honest, I want to see it again in terms of Barkley's position against Leicester. Then they have a decent run of fixtures, Leeds, Southampton, and 2 home games afterwards is okay. Arsenal, it's not a brilliant run. Whereas Brighton and Palace look better. I mean, Brighton's next 4 is great. Crystal Palace, West Brom, Tottenham, and Burnley looks really good. I think Trossard's a very fair shout. Zaha, fucking hell, going to frustrate as shit, isn't he? Brighton, Fulham, the next 2 is what will really appeal. Then it's Wolves and Leeds before the next international break. I don't think any of them are bad choices. But I think from what I previously said, if I was buying one right now, and bearing in mind it would be as part of a Kevin De Bruyne replacement, it would be Jack Grealish for myself. Pushkar says, hey, James, I hope West Ham get adventurous against Spurs. Yeah, me too. I'm captaining his son. Got an ill feeling about the game. Also have Kane. Which one should I go for? So I guess, and to be honest, I haven't thought about this. I guess my captain is now going to be Heung-min Son, who I would have had as a very safe vice backup for Kevin De Bruyne. I think that's the way I'll go. If I go -8 and Kane is in, I would captain Kane off the 2. I think fixture's so much better for him. Great record in London derbies, likes scoring against West Ham. Not that Son has a bad record against them, by the way. He doesn't at all. I think I'm just edged for Harry Kane on this particular fixture. And if I go down that route, what I have to know, and you know about my negative bias with Spurs, I know that if I go Harry Kane now, he's probably my captain for the next 4 game weeks. Can I deal with that? Again, these are things I need to think more about. But I think straight choice Kane, Son. I think Kane, to be honest. But I'll repeat what I said earlier. I think when I do my deadline stream tomorrow, I haven't thought about it too hard. But when I list my top 10 captaincy options for the week, I think Timo Werner will be top. And I think that's a serious option. The reason Timo Werner is not under strong consideration for me is I know it's just this week. And I probably then am amending another problem again next week where I'll probably want to remove him. But I think it's an amazing shout for this week. Edwin Grant says, what to do with Podence? Excuse me, give him another week and your thoughts on McGinn and Barkley as opposed to Grealish. I'd go Grealish, and then if it turns out that not McGinn, but I think if Barkley turns out to be the better option, you can always drop down to that. Podence, yeah, give it a go. What you've got to realise with the Wolves assets, I'm kind of in that with Jimenez at the moment where he might be the one I remove for Kane. If he stays this week, I'm then walking into Newcastle at home, he's going to stay. I'm then walking into Palace at home, he's going to stay. And I have to consider that. So, I mean, if I get Kane in, it's Jimenez or Ings will go. Southampton's next 4 are Chelsea away, Everton at home, Villa away, Newcastle at home. Now that looks harder than Wolves' upcoming fixtures. Wolves' 4th, by the way, is Leicester away. I need to think about that. Danny Ings, the thing is, both of them, they're so fucking consistent at scoring any game. Ings has a little bit more explosiveness than Jimenez. You never feel Jimenez is going to score more than 1. But if you said to me right now, Jimenez has scored 3 goals in the next 3 games, thank you very much. I'll take that and move. Yeah, I would hold Podence probably, unless you've got obvious go-tos. To be fair, Edwin, if right now that's the biggest problem you got, you're in a good place, mate. Brad Lewington says, afternoon, James. How do you prepare yourself for the North London derby mentally? I'm shitting myself for the game Sunday. Brad is a Brighton fan, and you shouldn't shit yourself, Brad, because it's an imaginary derby that we all know outside Brighton and Palace. It doesn't really exist, mate. Palace's derby is like Millwall or Charlton or something, or Arsenal for the old timers. I don't know what your derby would be, Brighton. Maybe that's why. How do I prepare for North London derby? It depends, really. I find if it's an evening kickoff and I'm working all day, then that's quite good because then mentally I'm busy. Weekend ones where it's like 4:30 on a Sunday, they're the fucking worst because there's empty space. I'm not really doing anything. I can't think about anything else. I've got a lot better at it, Brad. Generally, years ago, it could have been an 8 o'clock kickoff at night and I wouldn't have been able to eat all day. I know how to put me in bits, but I've found it getting easier with age and stuff. It's just fucking bad. And you'll beat them anyway, by the way. I do think you'll win on Sunday. Pushkar says, also, do your views change on the £14 per game charge when I tell you that in India can watch all Premier League games in a year for just £12? Australians for £14, and likewise. I get that Premier League wants to grow the game in these countries, but they are simply exploiting you lot who have a first right to watch the league being residents of the home country. Yes, I'm exploited. I know most people don't agree with Wymanchester. I get it. $14.95 is a fucking liberty. I will pay that $14.95 when Tottenham play Brighton in game week 7, because I'd rather watch the game in HD on my widescreen television rather than fight for a fucking internet stream with hot girls in your area sitting next to the stream. So I wouldn't pay that $14.95 for anybody else. I mean, Chelsea, Southampton tomorrow afternoon, I'll go looking for a stream. I'm sure I'll find one, but I'm not bothered about poorer quality for other games. I want to watch Tottenham in comfort and quality, and yeah, makes me part of the problem. I get that. As it stands, I will pay that $14.95. I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, the supporters clubs are trying to smash out that price to get something off it. I wouldn't be surprised if it actually changes by the time we get to game week 7, but $14.95, $9.95, either way, it's a bit of a piss take. There is the outlook on it that these games, if they'd been 3 o'clock on a Saturday, everybody would have been going for a stream anyway. So I kind of think, well, don't fucking moan about it. Just watch the stream anyway. And for everybody who isn't part of the problem, everybody who buys a replica football shirt at 70, 80 quid is also part of the problem. You're also getting fleeced off in different ways, etc. Right? So anybody that's committed to our clubs as proper fans, we're part of the problem. And as Pushkar's correctly pointed out, yeah, will be exploited. I know I'm being exploited. I've always been exploited by Tottenham. I'll never stop being exploited by Tottenham. It's just how it is. I've long got past the days of being angry at ticket prices or anything like that. I have a choice. I either pay it or I don't pay it. And I could watch Tottenham on a stream and the quality might be good, but personally, I'd rather just not take the chance. I think buy rates, it'd be really interesting to see once we get the data from Saturday with Chelsea and Manchester United being the 2 first box office games, what the buy rates are. I suspect for Newcastle Man United Saturday might be a lot higher than what people are anticipating. Then let's see what the numbers are like for West Brom and Burnley on Monday afternoon, when no one's going to be paying for it unless you're a West Brom or Burnley fan. So yes, unfortunately, we're consumers in a different way, right? There's the loyalty that we can't separate our heart and how we feel from who we are. So yes, we will continue to buy. I haven't bought a football shirt for 5 or 6 years now. I think they're overpriced. They don't particularly look good in them with my stomach, etc. But Harry, hopefully in the next couple of years, my boy, he's going to be 2 next month. He's going to turn around, hopefully nagging me in a couple of years going, Daddy, I want the shirt. He's going to get the fucking shirt if he wants it, right? So, yeah, we know what our role is. I accept it more than others. I'm not in a position where I can influence it. That's the other thing. So. Wan King says, hi, James. All right. Bench order. Mitchell Justin Taylor of Burnley. Well, Charlie Taylor, I'll be playing this week. If I've got a 4.5 million defender and I've got fears about playing away to West Brom, I should reconsider that. So Charlie Taylor's been in my squad from the start. I haven't used him yet. This is the right weekend, I believe, to stick him in. So the order on that would be Taylor, probably Justin Mitchell. Justin Mitchell's a close call, but to be honest, I think PVA will play. I think it's the right time for him to come back in. He tweeted over a week ago that he was back in training and stuff, so I expect him to play. And with it being off the back of Palace's 4-0 defeat at Chelsea, it's another reason to think it will change now. Angus McPhail says, hi, James. As it didn't win People's Fold, thought I'd ask it here. What do you think about the international break happening during the pandemic? Feels very unnecessary risk to me. Yes, it obviously is. How do I feel about it? I wouldn't have been bothered if I didn't watch any football for the next 2 weeks. I got a lot of opinions on England's system at the moment, which would take us up to 4 o'clock, so I'm not going to do that now. It's a difficult one, right? Because it's easy for us if we don't give a shit about it, or you think, oh, Nations League, whatever. And perhaps it's not a big deal for, say, like the English FA, but like for a lot of other countries, them international games in terms of what they can make in terms of sponsorships, advertising, etc., be quite a big deal, even with no crowds. And we are seeing games around Europe where there are a few thousand fans being able to attend, etc. So I think a lot of us, particularly from the fantasy aspect, whenever the international break comes around, you think, oh, fucking hell, just started and stuff like that. But what I don't agree with, certainly don't agree with the fact they played 3 times. It's not necessary 2 games, fine. Play the actual, if you're calling Nations League competitive, fine. Play the Nations League game. Don't be having friendlies and shit. Seriously. England were going to play a friendly against New Zealand next month. And, the Kiwis have pulled out of it. Fucking blame them. They've, as I said on one of the Patreon pods earlier in the week, they're probably the country that's dealt with COVID the best, and we're one of the worst. Is there any reason they pull out? You're going to fly all that way, halfway around the world during a pandemic to play a football match? I mean, it's not worth it, is it? So, no, I mean, the instinct in me is to say I'd rather they didn't happen, but I get why it did. The international calendar's fucked. UEFA, FIFA, and all these will always prioritise their competitions, and unfortunately, the FA, the Premier League, and all that will have to follow underneath their guidelines, essentially. So, whether we like it or not, it's the way it's going to be. Dynamite Dons, Rashford, Pulisic, James, I presume that is, or Mahrez. You mean to buy one? What, for this week? What's it for? Pulisic is the one that's most on my radar, if that helps. Carl Bennett, evening, James. Hope you're well. KDB question, yes. In Sky Fantasy Football, is it worth going with Laporte instead? So it might be. Again, Sky, I need to completely reassess what I'm going to be doing. But one of the things I mentioned on the Sky podcast we did on Wednesday, and again with the Patreon podcast we did afterwards on Wednesday as well, was the idea that if KDB was definitely ruled out, I wouldn't start with him. And where I'd been looking at moving Jimenez to Calvert-Lewin /Ings/Maupay in 2-3 weeks, I would replan it so I was moving Jimenez to Kevin De Bruyne. So that's what tonight, once I sort my FPL shit, I'll have a look at Sky and I'll rework that plan. It also means, by the way, for me, that Gator was probably going to be my goalkeeper in Sky. And if that Jack Butland deal goes through, that's enough to make me concerned, I think. I think Gator would still be number 1, but it would be enough to scare me off when I don't want to be fucking about with the goalkeeper. So probably means a rework to either Pope or Patricio as well. If I rework to Patricio, does it then mean I don't start with Jimenez? Then do I need to find a different route to Kevin De Bruyne in game week 9? Exactly. I need to sit down and try and work these things out. Rob Pick says, hi, mate. Thoughts on Gator? As a pick for wildcards, want Villa and Palace coverage defensively and like the Gator and Conser combination. I wouldn't like if Jack Butland signed, mate. I know, yes, he'd almost definitely still be number 1, but it'd be enough pressure, wouldn't it, surely, for you to have doubts? Nah, not Gator, mate. I think I'd then be looking at something like Ward and Martinez, if that's the combination you want, pal. FPL Platypus, afternoon, James. Really tempted to do De Bruyne to Bale. Am I blinded by being a Spurs fan, or could it be a good move? It could be an amazing move. It could also be awful if he doesn't start. I think he will start. I'd be surprised if he was only a substitute. All the signs seem to suggest that he'll play. The other thing of it is, does he? If the game's comfortable, does he come off at 50, 55 minutes? But then if the game's comfortable, has he done enough damage for you? He certainly wouldn't be a captain choice this weekend. No way at all. I might go Bale as well. If I go Bale, I might go Kane as well, and I might just fucking go for it and have all 3 of them. Which anybody who knows me knows that 2-3 weeks ago I would have sat there and went, I ain't having no Spurs players, it's not happening. But I just feel the thing with Spurs is at the moment, and I think like particularly the West Ham and Brighton home games, they're more difficult than they look actually. But it's the idea of what's possible and just looking at every other team basically in the top 10 at the moment and knowing there is at least one very difficult fixture over the next 4 games. And Spurs don't. Spurs really should be getting 12 points in the next 4 games. We know football doesn't work like that. But Spurs will be targeting minimum 10. Go and hammer this little period. Anything less than 10 points for Spurs in this period is bad. 9 points, I can maybe accept it. But really, we've got to be getting at least 10 points in these next 4. And I think it's particularly those 2 away games, Burnley and West Brom, I think there could be some good things in there. And it's not even related on the fact that Spurs have scored 11 away goals in 2 games. It's just the opposition. It's knowing that West Ham are going to make life very difficult on Sunday. And it's knowing that my long-held belief that Brighton are a very, very good football team and have the ability to come to White Hart Lane and have more of the ball than us. It becomes a very different challenge. Defensively, there's issues. Like, I mean, the fact that set pieces, the massive problem. So they've got such aerial units. They seem to have problems with set pieces, Brighton. But no, it's okay. It's okay. I think Ted at Rotation FPL made a really, really good point yesterday on Clash of the Correspondents when I asked him about Pulisic. And he said that he wouldn't consider him at the moment because just general rule of thumb, he doesn't like buying players when they return from injury. And I completely get that. The thing is, though, Pulisic and Bale particularly are such very good differentials that if they do well this week, they will explode in the market with the absence of De Bruyne, etc. And then, particularly in Bale's case, you're then walking into 3 very, very good fixtures afterwards. And it might be if you lean into a position where you've got, say, Bale and Son, like I might have, that you look at it and go, okay, fine, I'll go with it now. Once I hit game week 9, I'll decide which one of the two is a longer term hold, sell the other one. They're obviously similar value. And that might be the play that I begin to think about. Harry Kane, for example, you get to game week 9, you think, them fixtures are shit. Harry Kane's any game, any time, right? And consistency. But then do I want consistency from Harry Kane at 10.6 or whatever he is when probably after game week 9, there isn't a fixture where I'd captain him until game week 16. Then I'm thinking, oh. So if I go that way, I'm thinking, shit, I've got to come back off as well. Bale, if Bale does well on Sunday, it'll be all the rage. It will be all the rage generally, and people will be strongly considering, if say Spurs win 3-0 on Sunday, which I don't think we will. I think it'll be a tough game. And Bale, Son and Kane all score. Imagine it next week. Just be a case of flying into them before, say if Burnley lose at West Brom as well. You think, fucking hell, Burnley 0 points from 4. Fucking hell, they've got Spurs next. Then you see West Brom in the distance in game week 8 as well. Brighton at home, conceded 4 to Everton, 3 to Manchester United. I can get the appeal. I really can get the appeal. What I would say to anybody is prioritise Heung-min Son first if you haven't. But there's a million people who bought him this week and there was a lot of people who owned him before. So I'm going to guess a lot of people in this chat own Heung-min Son. If you don't and you do have Kevin De Bruyne, that would be my first pick of transfer is De Bruyne to Son. Florian Meiser says, hi James, hope you're doing well. Are the already confirmed minus points refunded if the wildcard is activated later in the same game? We're asking for a friend, of course. Florian, we know you're asking for yourself, but it's no problem. Yes, if you've taken -8 this week, for example, and you've got more problems and you hit your wildcard, your points will be annulled. Your points hits. You'll get them back. FPL Irons, hello, Luke. How many do you think West Ham win by this weekend? Well, I don't. Suj on our Patreon podcast this morning has predicted 3-1 to West Ham. And I told him to go and light the cigar, mate. I mean, the confidence in that guy. He also did say on that podcast that he would tip West Ham to win in every game that they have left this season. I did remind him that afterwards, obviously, have Manchester City and Liverpool to follow. I'm confident, Luke. I've got to be. There's no reason why you shouldn't be confident in your own team as well. But yeah, the way I feel about Spurs has changed. It has to have. Antonino says, hope you're well, James. Thank you. He says, I'm currently on my wild card. And with KDB news, should I go Salah and Sterling or Salah and Mane? I'm always going to lean there to a Salah and Sterling combination rather than the both Salah Mane. Yeah, Salah and Sterling, I think, mate. Clean sheet wipeout. I know you don't want to do KDB questions, but in Sky Fantasy Football, who do you think is the best placeholder for KDB? As we will never see want him back when fit. I think it's Jimenez, but I need to rework it and see how that works. I think that's the solution. 3 games of Wolves with Jimenez, 3 potential captaincies in the Sky game from him, and then move back to Kevin De Bruyne. And obviously you miss tomorrow, which he won't play. You miss West Ham, and if you walk it back into him being fit for Sheffield United, then great. If obviously you get there and he's not fit still, you can make a different decision. Jimenez is probably the best placeholder for him, but I need to figure out how it works. FPL Cobbler, afternoon, James. Hope all's well. My questions have already been asked, so we'll change tap to Champman FPL. Assuming you'll be playing, who are the first names on your squad list for season 2? Okay, now I will be playing. Yes, that's an absolute certainty. And a shout out to the guys who are doing great to set the game up again. I know they're going to do streams on Thursday nights. I think they might even want me to announce who's going to be doing the streams instead of me, but I'll be tuning in when I can. I mean, Thursday nights, Tottenham can be playing a lot, right? So I won't always. He's going to be set up a team and look afterwards in a lot of cases for myself, unfortunately. But I haven't really looked in at all the prices yet, to be honest with you. I suppose you're going to need at least one of Omri, Van Nistelrooy over Duka. My kind of thinking is to target the younger players who might develop a bit more this year. I think Matt Jansen might have a very expensive price. Joe Cole, depending on where he moves, might be an option. Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, these guys who I know will improve in the game might be the sort of guys that I target early on. Brad Lewandon, you may have answered this, but any chance the live streams will be back for Champman, mate? Love them. There you go, on cue, Brad. They won't, mate. Andy Martin, bless him, he sent me a DM, FPL tactician, who's heavily involved with the game and our Leeds correspondence, but he sent me a DM message a couple of weeks back because I'd said to him, it became very hard for me once we launched Patreon to commit to the streams as well. I could still blag my way, but I was blagging through it. There was no prep or anything. It was just 2.5 hours of a laugh, a beer, and blagging. And he said, "Are you sure you don't want to carry on? We can do it on Thursday nights." And before I'd even responded, he was like, "The fuck, Tottenham in the Ropey League, aren't they?" I was like, "Yeah, you know me, mate." He's like, "Okay, forget that. Speak soon. See you later." So no, if it's going to be Thursday nights, it completely rules me out anyway. I have said that potentially further down the line, I will do the odd one. If the guys want me involved, then I'm potentially happy if the time's right, perhaps over an international break or something, maybe to help out. But generally speaking, no, I won't. I can't do it. I can't do it. It's too much now with me doing deadline streams before game weeks and stuff as well. That's why I mentioned maybe international breaks. Feels like I'm losing a stream, giving a stream back. But no, as much as I loved them, as much as I enjoyed them, it's a massive commitment, plus the time issue. I've also got another issue as well, where we've had someone move in below us who's got a little baby as well. So I'm doing them streams to like 10, 11 o'clock at night, and they're quite loud and fiery. It's probably not ideal. So generally speaking, Brad, unfortunately not, no, but I will be supporting the guys massively. Rebel FPL says, "Hi James, Derek here from the second tier Patreon group. Hello mate, just wanted to say Planet FPL is essential." Thanks Derek, appreciate that mate. You guys doing good stuff for your pod as well, mate. Mikey Moles, "Hi James, have you got any interest in catching the old firm game?" Absolutely none, I'm afraid. 25 years ago, Celtic and Rangers was must-watch television. It was bigger than any game in England, genuinely. Perhaps maybe other than United v Liverpool or Arsenal. I had to watch them, and they were always great. Always like 3-2 or 3-3 or something. Zero interest in watching that, honestly. I'll be very, very honest with you, Mikey. If the early kickoff, and I'm sure Celtic Rangers 12:30 tomorrow, if the early kickoff in the Premier League tomorrow was West Brom against Burnley, I would rather watch that than Rangers v Celtic at the moment. Harley McKittrick, "Hi James, thoughts on KDB to Mane and have Salah and Mane double up? Mane got low ownership, great run of fixture after Everton." Yeah, I certainly see the appeal of the differential there in Sadio Mane. Most people will know I generally prefer Mane over Salah, but it's that Salah explosiveness when you put the armband on him. I get it. It's fucking haunting. Can you have both? Yes, of course you can have both. Although I'd argue against them fixtures looking quite, West Ham at home, Sheffield United at home. The two sides who, in an odd way, Liverpool be better off playing Southampton and Brighton than West Ham and Sheffield United from a captaincy perspective. Just consider that. Austin Laley, thoughts on captain Pulisic over Salah? I think the armband for Pulisic is probably going to be one gamble too far, but I do think he'll start. You got to think as well, if he wants to give Ziyech minutes, Pulisic's probably first to get replaced. Ronan Mehigan says, "Hi James, what do you think of Che Adams down to Brewster to enable Soucek up to Trossard and start one of Brewster or Trossard each week?" But if you've got Leandro Trossard, you should be starting in most game weeks. He's a very good player. So I don't have a massive issue with that, Ronan, if that's what you want to do. My plan is to hold Soucek for a considerable period personally, but I don't have an issue with that. Timing-wise, to move on Che Adams is probably right. James Conroy, one from Villa and one from Brighton. Where do you go? Thinking mid-strikers. Combination I'd want there is Maupay and Grealish. Gary Mantle, I know you don't just want Kevin questions, but did you know that Tammy Abraham's first name is actually Kevin and Timmy Abrahams is Jason? I did know something weird was going on with Tammy Abraham's name, but yeah, I know now. Thanks. Rebel FPL says, "Captain Sterling, Kane or Havertz this week? Who's most likely to haul?" I think from them three, you're going Harry Kane, but I will repeat. I'll think about it more, but I think Timo Werner is the best shout. Kartik says, "I have 2.1 million in the bank. Happy with defense. Midfield is Podence, KD." There's so much going on there, Kartik. I'm not going to cover a wild card here, mate, but I wish you best of luck. You want to slide in my DM or something? Slide in. There's a lot going on there. Rebel FPL, Sky Overhaul, would you go with Watkins and Grealish Barkley instead of Harvey Barnes? Well, Harvey Barnes is crossed out for me at the moment, so I've just Grealish at the moment, and then I'd be looking, rather than Leicester at the moment, it's probably something like a Maupay, actually, or Calvert-Lewin, or James Rodriguez. Leicester, I think, need assessing. They've got a more difficult run on fixture on paper. Sorry, they've got a more difficult run coming up than what paper suggests, in my opinion. Oscar Featherstone says top 3 less than 5 million defenders. Charlie Taylor, Luke Ayling, Stuart Dallas. FPL telling Josh says, does KDB out news mean you're likely to look sideways at another City option or move to a Sun Salah if you don't already own? Sterling's not really under consideration to fire in for me, partly because KDB is not available, right? It's got to regress what Sterling is if make him a little bit safer in the team. I still have Phil Foden, although I'm looking to move Phil Foden on next week. That's part of my thinking at the moment. And finally, from Rebel FPL, thoughts on Foden, Mahrez versus other Sky options since KDB is out. I think I'm going to go out. My first choice after De Bruyne for Sky would be Laporte, then probably Ruben Diaz, then probably Mahrez. And I think I'm just going to go without and have that plan to get KDB back. FPL Hitman says, morning everyone, KDB the big question, dropping in price tonight, probably stick or twist. Covered, my friend. Rewind. FPL Glasgow. Right. Already on -4 for Son, effectively. -6 for KDB. Want to take a risky punt. Who you got on the watch list? Bale, Pulisic, Fernandes, Sterling. Fernandes not on it either. I mean, I've already sold him for Son. So not Fernandes and Sterling are the two I don't fancy at the moment. It's not to say that you shouldn't. It's Sterling over Fernandes if it's a choice of those two. Mark Dorney was wildcard choice between Castagne, Saiz, or Semedo. I think I'd probably chance my arm on Semedo, actually, Mark. Pushkar says, I like a Mane and Salah double up for people on wildcard. Captain Salah for home games, Mane for away. Do you think it's better than going for one of them and then Sterling or KDB when fit? So my question, Pushkar, is who are you captaining in game week 8? Oscar Featherstone, Grealish or James? I'm favouring Grealish at the moment. FPL bro, hey James, thanks for the great pre-game updates. Decision question: keep KDB or replace with either Bruno Fernandes or Son. What would you do? Son. Don't overthink that, mate. Rob Pick, wildcard question number 2. What is your preference on Trossard and Watkins at 11.9 versus Maupay and Barkley at 12.5? I like Trossard. I don't know if he's going to be one of these players that is always just likable, though. Possibly Maupay and Barkley, Rob. It's close, but Maupay and Barkley, I think. And final question, what are your feelings on Brewster? If you were on a wild card, would you pick him? If I was on a wild card, yes, I would. Yeah, I would at the moment. FPL Bulldog, if you were to go against the grain, invest big at the back, who would be your priorities after the Liverpool boys in terms of expensive defenders? It'd have to be City. With Diaz in now, the likes of Kyle Walker, Laporte, and Diaz himself, it will come in the next couple of weeks where we start talking about them, I should imagine. So City, to answer your question. So BC1, hi James, is Pulisic a good option to replace KDB with? Keep in mind that next week I could go Pulisic to Mane KDB. Yeah, I mean, if you can do it for free, it's brilliant. Yeah, go for it. Rebel FBL is talking to Rob. They're having their own chat. Antonio Gitter, I have Brewster on my wildcard. Do you think it is too risky to start him? There's a risk. Do I think he will start? I suspect probably yes. Do I know? No. As I said at the top of the stream, I think a lot's going to depend on the fitness of McGoldrick and Burke, and it probably needs at least one of them to be out for Brewster to start. If that's the case, then I think yes. If they're both pass fit, I think it'd probably be a sub. Uroso Drezic, sorry if I butchered that, mate. Hi, James. Who do you expect to start right back for Spurs? Is Doherty still Spurs' first choice? Well, Serge Aurier had probably his best game for Tottenham against Manchester United in game week 4 and deserves to play again. Doherty, I would say, to say he's been shit so far would be a little bit harsh, but if he's been better than that, it's not been much better. And I think Serge Aurier deserves to play again. If you'd have said that when Doherty signed, that would potentially be my thinking, I would have said, pull the other one, right? But I think, on merit, Aurier should play. So is Doherty safe? In my opinion, no. It could be on reflection that fatigue is why he didn't play against Manchester United. Might be the reason. Bearing in mind, Spurs obviously had those 4 games in 8 days. So there's a lot of behind-the-scenes fitness stuff in terms of niggles we might not have known about. I'd play Aurier at the weekend, personally. Especially against a player like Fornals, who's not going to probably threaten to get in behind as such as, say, Bowen will be that threat on the other side for West Ham. So Aurier can do his usual advancing and not be too much issue. Doherty's recovery is so bad. He can't get back. Aurier for me. If you have Matt Doherty, I would probably hold if you have bench cover. If you don't, I would sell. Oliver Render, hey James, thoughts on attacking KDB's absence with Mane and Salah? Easy flips KDB went back. Seems like a lot of people want to go down this route. It's absolutely fine. James Conroy, those on wildcard, are we crazy to think it's time to cash in our price rises on DCL given the value around 6 million mark for strikers? I mean, look what's coming up for Everton. Liverpool, Southampton, Newcastle, Man United. It's a hold, isn't it, I think? Yeah, I think hold for the moment. You can always address that if it calms down. And it will calm down, right? He's not going to sustain a rate of 1.3 goals, 1.33 goals every time he plays. Barry Mack, FPL, formerly secret FPL player. Hello, Barry Mack. James, who do you think starts out of Dotti? Aurier, just covered that. Zaris, hello, my friend. You're my favourite. Will Reece James play? Greetings from Greece. You're a great dude. Love you, Zaris. You're my favourite, mate. Will Reece James play? Fucking $50 question, isn't it? Or $64 question even. I don't know. I mean, he should do, in my opinion, but does he? I don't know. As Piliqueta is going to continually give Chilwell and James problems. Rotation FPL talks about this brilliantly yesterday. Does Reece James play? 60% yes. Can't say more than that, mate. Sayakir says, Captain Grealish, baby. Good luck. FPL Bricky's in, says Arsenal. And Ant A. Keep up the great work, James. Ask James, Fantasy Football Scout, Team New Stream. Cheers, mate. Boys at Scout do great stuff, mate. Sabisi one is Grealish, a good captaincy option. It's okay, but I suspect that's probably not the best you can find. Classico says, thanks for team news. I suspect I'm a long way behind the chat here. We got about 15 minutes ago. I suggest if anyone else is putting questions into the stream now, I'm probably not going to get to you, and I'm probably not going to get to many that are in there. Jeff Holt says, hello, mate. Thank you for your great Sky vids. Really helped. You're welcome. Zaris says, if I sell De Bruyne, should I take Son, Morris, or Sternum? Why? You are my favourite podcaster. Greetings from Greece. Zaris, go for Sonny, my friend. Harry Redmond, thoughts on Podence? Is he worth 5.5 million? Moving on. I did cover Podence a little while ago, Harry, so I'm going to skip that. Shamil Gilani, best KDB replacement, have Son and Salah already. I don't know the answer yet, Shamil. I don't know the answer. My instinct is that I'm going to end up with Grealish. That's my instinct. And just save the money to make a more informed choice next week on Pulisic or Bale. That's where I think I'm going to head. But I could easily go Pulisic, easily go Bale. Son is the best choice. You've already got him. It's really tough. I can see why people would want to go for Sterling or the Liverpool guys. I just structure-wise, I want to do something different. And I'm a bad FPL manager. Remember that, guys. Rebel FPL says, don't mean to repeat myself. Still sitting on Havertz. Is he good enough to armband? I'll tell you what, it's worse shouts than Kai Havertz for the armband this week. Wouldn't be what I'd want to do. I think... Werner only for the Chelsea captaincy, and that comes with a huge risk, the idea that it will go back through the middle. But I think he will. I wouldn't be keen on it, but if you're struggling with options, I don't hate it. I think KDB is going to explode this week to be quite open, because I don't think Salah and Mane are obviously decent options, but most people don't want to go for a Liverpool player. Last two at 0-0 at Goodison Park. And Spurs against West Ham, the idea that it's a trap. It's not a trap. I'm telling you, it's a difficult fucking fixture, guys. We ain't going to blow West Ham away 4-5-0. It's just not going to happen. FPL Classico says, who would you do KDB to Son or KDB and Adams to Grealish and Kane? I'm not sure I understand your question there, pal. Would you do KDB to Son or KDB and Adams to Grealish and Kane? I'll just go for Son, mate, I think. Chris Duran's, hi James, how do you think KDB absence affects Foden? Does it make him more appealing? I tell you what, it might make him more. It definitely hangs around for me for tomorrow. Austin Laley, I wouldn't buy him though. Austin Laley, is Pulisic as good a captaincy option as Werner in your opinion? No, because of the risks I said in terms of him potentially being withdrawn early. Harry Redmond said, is having Dean not worth it in the sense that you could free up 1 million to get Robbo? Is that worth a transfer? Do I think Robertson's worth $1 million more than Luca Dean? Yes. Jonathan Aves with Issa Diop back. Who drops out from the West Ham defence? Balbuena or Masaraku with Cresswell moving at left wing back? I think it would be Balbuena, I think, probably drops out. Mikey Moles, would you consider Morris as replacement for KDB? Logic is Jesus out. Sterling 50-50. No KDB and Aguero not played in months. Cheers. Yes, you can definitely consider Riyad Mahrez. It's worth saying that Arsenal will give Man City a game tomorrow, right? It's not City against the side that we think are going to batter. Yes, I know City have scored 3 home goals in the last 3 home meetings against Arsenal, and I probably expect them to do similar tomorrow. But look at that cup semi-final. If Arsenal get it tactically right, they'll give City a fucking game, right? What happened in City's last home game? Leicester? Is that the last home game? Yeah, that's the only home game they've had, isn't it? Yeah. So, no, I'm not desperate to replace KDB with City, personally. Kevin Wemmy, hi James, first time on stream from Kenya. Hello, which 2 players would you start? Taylor, Lamptey, Podence. I've predicted on the Patreon pods this morning clean sheets for Burnley and Brighton this weekend, so I think I'd have to go with that. Kieran Thompson, KDB, 4.5 million mid and Brewster up to Kane for me. So easy to do. We'll jump back off Kane in a few weeks. I think that's reasonable. It's a reasonable idea to do that. Vignesh is KDB and Jimenez out for Kane and Pulisic. This is the sort of move that I could make, and I may well be considering myself. So it's one I'm going to give some thought to, honestly. Kia says, fuck it, I'ma just go Salah Mane. Double up, good for you. Harry Redmond, thoughts on Fernandes this season in general? Poor, very poor. It's just not right at Manchester United at the moment. And I've no idea how they're going to set up tomorrow with no Martial. Could be Rashford Greenwood as split forwards. Could be this is the right time for them to look at a diamond again. I think that might be what they do. And we get back into that and it looks as Martial and Rashford as split forwards. Could be. But the unknown on that makes me really not interested at the moment. Tyrell covered that. KDB to Sterling. If you like that sort of thing, it's fine. Optimus says, hey, James, what is your opinion about Zaha and long good fixtures? Crystal Palace have good fixtures. Form question. Good fixtures. Start of the season's not bad. It's obviously got 3 goals so far. I laugh at Suj every time he tells me that Zaha's in his team because I experienced that pain last season. Not a high priority for me. I get it. I think if you do want to invest in them, Brighton, Fulham, the next 2 probably look like doing it. Problem with Zaha is, I'm telling you, Palace's fixtures are good up to the end of the year. You could end up sitting there a long fucking time because you just keep going. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Okay, it's a difficult one, but then there's 3 good ones. That's a problem for a player like Zaha. I know this happened to me last year. We hung around I was meant to have him for 8 game weeks, 8 good fixtures, and then I found more problems. He ended up staying for fucking 10. He did nothing for me. Edwin Grand, Foden, keep or sell. So my intention is definitely keep tomorrow. As I said, I think it probably becomes a better asset for the game tomorrow now. But longer term, no, I'm not happy. I'm not happy seeing him in this wide right. Okay, wide left, not Kane. The wide right against Wolves was great. Michael N says, hey, James, given the team news at Man City and a fixture, Sterling versus Pulisic captain. If I was to captain one of them, Sterling is a safer play, isn't he? Do you know what? I'm not going to promise you that I come off this stream and I start looking at it tonight and I won't buy Raheem Sterling. I can't promise that because I've got indecisiveness about the other guys. It might be that that's just a simple solution for me. Get Sterling, captain Sterling. When I say it like that, it fucking makes sense, really. I don't have concerns about Sterling on fitness. The fact that Guardiola's come out and spoke about De Bruyne but hasn't spoke about Sterling suggests to me that Raheem Sterling's absolutely fine. So it might be that I just go back and revisit that and just go, you know what? Simple. -4. KDB, Sterling, armband, Sterling. Let's reassess this afterwards. Might be what I do. Wesley Thomas, Sujan Shaw is the worst FPL pundit, never finished in the top 100k. That's because, Wesley, Sujan Shaw is not an FPL pundit, and neither am I. And we're not FPL experts. We both have bad historical FPL ranks. If you're listening here for FPL expertise and to be made an better FPL player, please log off, stop listening, unfollow, all those things, mate. So BC1, is treyary a good option on the wild card? Adama Traore would not be in my thoughts, mate. I'd like to see him play in the front 2 against Leeds. I think that'd be very interesting on Monday night. Not in my thoughts at the moment. Colin Connor, evening, James. Is Sterling captain crazy this week or KDB out ruin this. Good placeholder to get KDB back or drop to Chelsea, etc. Kind of just covered. Mark Dorney is responding to Wesley. He's going to get some stick. Rebel FPL said, I figured why not fire up a podcast and say Salah, 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 KDB, KDB, KDB. Here's my patron. You go to Decision James for something different and some actual talk of football. Exactly. We have never professed to be good at FPL or experts at this game. Never. We're here for the entertainment. If you don't think it's fun, jog on. FPL Cobbler says at Wan King, please let that be a real name. Raging Socks. Grealish or Watkins, be Grealish for me. I think Watkins 5.9 is a brilliant little price, you know. Theo Alden, hi James, hope you're good. Coming in wildcard. Foden, Werner, Regional or Salah, Brewster, concert question. Thanks, mate. Love the pods. Thank you very much, Theo. I'm not going to go into wildcards here. It's too much from an audio perspective. When I want to cover as many people as I can. Peter G, hi James. Hope you tweet your Sky team and plans going forward. Great listen as usual. Yeah, I will for my patrons tonight. Mustafa Mohammed, stick or twist with Ings and Jimenez. Well, I've got both. I suspect they're both going to stay. I'm not going to lie. I don't know what I'm doing at the moment. My plan was KDB captain and just crack on this week. So I'd need to give some serious thought. I don't really want to get rid of either Ings or Jimenez, but I also think it's probably wrong to have both. And it's a really difficult call between the two. Chris Allen, James, I've got 2.6 million in the bank. Thinking of moving Barnes to Son or Barnes to Grealish and Jimenez to Kane from -4. Ran a 3-5-2 formation. There's lots going on there, but make Heung-min Son one of them, mate. Declan Burns, replacing KDB and Adams. Go to Grealish, Kane or Son, Watkins. Wish people had read the start of the chat where I said, let's try and have some questions that don't involve KDB. Anything KDB, I'm just going to skip over the next 5 minutes, guys. Because at some point I must have covered the options. Callum Watkins, thinking of going with Watkins and Grealish as Sinchu and Evans look like they'll be out. Thoughts? I don't mind that. It's one of the reasons Grealish very much back on radar as well. And it could be that Watkins comes onto it. Because, yeah, Leicester defensively. We don't know about Wesley Fofana and how he'll settle in. But it sounds like he'll play. Ominous as well that Brendan Rodgers was talking about Wes Morgan's fitness. I mean, that's quite scary for Leicester, I think. So, yeah, well done for spotting that. Marcus Nelson, sorry if this has been covered. How long is KDB expected out for? How long's a piece of string? Rajkumar says, 210 points. Where do I stand? You stand on an average of 52.5 points per game week so far. Not bad. Rebel FPL, here's a twist on the Sky replacement for KDB question. Rather than Jimenez, who is the best Man City replacement for KDB in Sky? I think Laporte. Nigel Mendonca, whom to start between Podence and Mitrovic? If you got Mitrovic, you shouldn't be leaving him out, genuinely. Vignesh, KDB to 4.5 and upgrade Davis to Kane. Have Jimenez and Morpay up front. Sounds fine. Anand's got lots of comments in. Bomb in the chat. Spot Haven on my wildcard. Should I move on KDB? I mean, if you're on a wildcard, there's no excuse for starting with KDB. Just have it ready to get him in next week if that's what you want to do. Jack Charlton, James, little bit of non-FPL fun. Oh, blind me for a quick second. Always rate your analysis. So if you could, would you want to pundit on Match of the Day, Sky or BT? Keep up the amazing work, lads. Well, I'm not a former professional football player, so that would rule me out instantly. Would I enjoy doing it? Yeah. Do I think I could improve it? Yeah. Will it ever happen? No. Kartik Rao, sorry for a long question earlier, but have 2.1 million in the bank. Would you still go KDB to Son or remove Mitrovic first? If you got that in the bank and you're going KDB to Son, you're putting 4 million in the bank, you should then consider, can you get Mitrovic up to a Harry Kane or Timo Werner or something, right? That's what you should be doing. Sport Haven on my wildcard, Semedo or Chilwell. I'd go Semedo, I think. FPL Buenas this afternoon. Bivek, I went for, that's a long question, so I'm going to skip that. Sorry, no offense. Antonio Gitta, does Pulisic start for Chelsea? Do you think? Yes, I do. FPL Anderson. Now then, buddy, should I be worried about Podence? Worried? No. 3 decent fixtures coming up. I suspect he probably does play. Likiv Reddy says, can I replace Rodriguez with Zaha just for this week? Yeah, I mean, look, if you've got no problems in your team, yeah, fine. Lamici, Salah, VVD or Pulisic captain for Sky? I think I'm going to end up on VVD, mate. I think. Khalid says, who should I captain, Sterling, Werner or Kane? I think best shout might be Timo Werner. I genuinely do. Jigs John says, hi, James. Good to see you again. KD, I'm going to skip the KDB stuff, mate. No offense. Joshua Tan, man, what should I do about KDB? I've taken a -12 to bring in Son and Kane. Lol. You must take a fucking -16 then, mate. Lots of repeat stuff going on now. I think I will end the stream there, guys. I've been going for an hour or so. I will stream again tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, in terms for deadlines and final hour leading to that. Be a lot more fast paced. We'll go over FPL questions then as well. I will, when I start that stream, know what I'm doing with my FPL team as well, and I will talk through my decision process. But yeah, a little bit of paralysis at the moment because I don't know what to do, because the plan was just I'm going to accept the KDB doubt and armband on him, and I've not had the time to really think and plan ahead. You know me, it won't be a 1 week move. I'll start looking at game week 6, 7 and 8 and possibly even game week 9. So I need to sit down and think about it properly. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Great fun as always. Stay calm. If you got KDB, to summarize, the best choice, in my opinion, is Heung-min Son. A lot of you will already have that. I think Pulisic, Grealish, movement of funds is okay. I think -4s are okay. I think -8 in the right circumstances okay, particularly if it's going to fix you a captain problem. Go for it. This week is going to be difficult. Genuinely. It's going to be difficult. The captaincy is not obvious this week in any way at all, with Liverpool playing Everton, City playing Arsenal, Tottenham, West Ham game. I'm telling you, it's difficult. Don't rule out Chelsea against Southampton. Some people out there are going to go to likes of Jack Grealish against Leicester with those defensive problems. Don't hate it. Don't hate it. Is Jamie Vardy, if he's fit, is he even an option? Loads of options this week from a captaincy perspective. It's going to be tough. Anyway, that's me done. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, guys. See many of you in the morning. For the benefit of those listening on the audio, cue music, please, man child.